Well, welcome to our program as we seek significance. Jim Riefenberger is our business chaplain. And we see this sometime that some guys are just, I don't know, used because they're loyal.
Yes, I think it's a good thing, and it's also an abused thing, isn't it?
And they're using you, and you know they're using you, but for whatever reason, you're not going to call them out on it because you're loyal.
No, and I think this topic, Jeff, is a one that happens at work. It happens in our family relationships, friends relationships. Like
Oh,
I'm gonna think back to a kid. I first watched my mother. Now my mother could sew wedding dresses, fix anything. Well, people would come to the door because she didn't work. She was a stay-at-home mom. And they would just show up and bring stuff in. Can you fix this? And can you fix that? Now, if you're her grandkid, she'd be happy to because that's like being a mom. She had a friend from, I don't know if it was church or her name was Helen, and Helen would come over almost every week. And my mom was so exhausted from doing Helen stuff. And Helen never stayed to reciprocate. She just stayed because she wanted to get something. And I think I did not see significance from my mom in that time. I did in other places, but because she didn't want to deal with the conflict, or I think one day she finally told Helen she was kind of done with just all these tasks. Well, maybe some of the advantages of significance in the materials and then the guided conversation somewhere along your path of X, which you might be working through the money, the health,
and the
the
X
work.
the X on our it's like a treasure map you unfold.
Yes.
You're here and you're trying to find this way to X where the treasure is. In this case, it's fulfillment. That's that feeling you have that I finally made it. I'm content. I'm purposeful. I'm enjoying my life. That's the X. Continue.
What really starts to happen here with other people is they're the beginning to one of the first steps. Like I can think of people that are wondering whether they should make a shift. And as we sort through that or discern through that, the question is they still haven't went to where they're at and asked the right question. But because they haven't stood up for themselves, they've been loyal, but they haven't been heard. So let me just give you some things where loyalty really is correct.
Okay.
Loyalty, if a boss is really in a good space, he should be able to see your gifts and want to use them. Now, you may have to point him out that I enjoy doing this more than that, and there may be a conversation, but that's that conflict, right? Otherwise, you're just settling. I think generally, people, just like when you're in middle school, high school, they go after the person that's the most empathetic and soft because if they ask them to fill in for them, there's most likely they're going to say yes. So they've already played the game in their head. Who wouldn't just tell me go fly a kite, and who would tell me I'll do it?
Are there people now that you have your wheel, your talent code profile? Are there people on the wheel who are more susceptible to this as their talents?
Oh, most definitely. I would say on the lower part of the wheel in the circle, you're dealing with processors and caretakers and supporters. They care about people, and so people read into it, and so then
Okay, so stop for a second. If you've not taken the talent code profile, it's an easy test. It's pretty inexpensive. It won't take you very long, but you can intuitively see, I am probably a caretaker, a processor. What was the other one you said?
supporter.
A supporter, right? Well, this is who you are. Then what Jim is saying is hitting you right where you know. You're the softy that can't say no. And you say the reason is guilt.
Yes, that's the the tough part about that particular talent code profile. But like yours, a promoter or connector, I would say you might do it because you want people's approval.
Now, okay, interesting. Interesting. Everybody's susceptible. What about
And
you? Where would you be susceptible to that?
so on that upper corner of that wheel, you're looking at developers and
Mhm.
creators and analyzers. We like a combination. We want to control things and perfect things so it gets in our way, right? Like it's not going to be good enough. We want help, but we won't ask for it. So things like that. So we all have some work to do.
All right, you've laid out the problem. Please tell me you have some solutions.
Well, you know what the truth of it is if you've been there, we needed someone to sort that with, right? So I think the solution is in when it comes up in the process, then back to our GROW acronym, which is the vowel in the GROW acronym is we're asking you to log this as many days as you could. Is there's an opportunity that sits there, and you have to be recognized that that's an opportunity to address that.
How?
Like, let's just say it was your boss. What if you just said to your boss, "Can I have 5 minutes with you?" And just 5 minutes, I'd like to talk about the fact that for the last couple of years, I'm doing the job, I'm working hard, I'm loyal, but I'm kind of grinding and I don't really feel like I get to use my gifts like I could.
Hmm.
Now, I see a few places where I think I'd be more significant. And all I'd ask you today is not say anything, just that you heard me. And maybe could we set a time in 2 or 3 weeks to talk about it? Just you take a little bit of time and then you and I will converse. And then it becomes 2 weeks for you then to kind of prepare like those things or what things you want to ask or bring up. And if they don't have anything for you, then my other question is that might answer our next opportunity. Is it time to move on when we're not being significant? It might be, I didn't say tomorrow or anything, but it allows you to get your answer that you want, whether it'll move forward correctly or we should move on.
If you're loyal to them and you give them an opportunity to be loyal back and they don't, they've answered that question.
Yeah. Uh, Give and take. We could even flip this over once. We've all been takers too,
Yeah.
right? And so maybe we should stop and recognize sometimes maybe somewhere on the list where I could actually acknowledge that I was taking. Like for example, I remember doing this about 20 years old. I had moved away, I had roommates. They were lazy, sloppy. I did most of the dishes. I cleaned up after these men, and I come home one weekend and my mom was in the kitchen and then there was dishes and stuff to do and I just said, I'm sorry. Like for many years I just let you do stuff
Hmm.
and I was a taker and I should just let me help. And she kind of looked at me like, like
Who are
there's a
you?
moment of, yeah, who are you? But right,
What have you done with my son?
if I love my mom, then shouldn't I start to give and then take? And it's the same thing with your spouse. You're maybe taken, and maybe it's your I don't know. If you're the boss, you might be realizing you've got a couple of guys that you rely on so much that you've been taken a long time from them. And I don't even think you have to like just acknowledging that makes them feel good, right? It takes a heavy heart away. You brought up the push-up thing, I think a couple of weeks ago, and we were just kicking tires with this idea, and you said, well, it's kind of like if you were in fitness, like, and you said, do 100 push-ups. Oh boy. But what if I just said, just Jeff, I need you to do 8 push-ups right now. Let's go ahead and rest a couple minutes. What if there was a better way to get to 100?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of what I hope we do with significance is help you see where the conflict is, help you slow it down, sort it out, and get traction.
I'm Jeff Gould.
And I'm Jim Riefenberger.
Until next time, God bless.